Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative, and welcome to this Tuesday afternoon session of Chattin On The Porch, a fun little live stream that we love to do, talking to you about items going on in the news. And oh my Lord, has we got news to talk about, my friends. We are on Rumble. We are on YouTube. We're trying to be all over everywhere we can on this blessed, crazy thing we call the internet. Glad to have you here. Thank you to everyone who was here last night for our coverage of the Republican National Convention with myself and Reuben Christopher Haynes. And we have got all kinds of news to talk about today. As you might expect, stuff is breaking out everywhere. So we will be here to talk about it. It's going to be a load of fun, going to be good for everybody. And otherwise, glad to see everybody here. Again, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. And hang on, let me check on this. Zippy says that Rumble is not updating. This is not good. So I'm trying, let me go over there real fast, see if I can figure out what's going on, folks. No, it's there. Not sure what. Okay, yeah, Rumble's operating, so okay, we'll go with it. Anywho, crazy days. Where's my Rumble chat? There we go. Alrighty. Okay, we're getting there. Sorry about that, folks. My computer. Some days I love it, and some days I want to throw it out in the streets. Anyhow, glad to have all of you guys here. We're doing an afternoon session of Chatting on the Porch. This is Tuesday, July 16th. Talking to all of it. Okay, you're refreshing. All right, cool. Very good. Glad to have everybody here. And good to see everyone. All right, so much to talk about from yesterday. First of all, again, welcome back to this afternoon session of Chatting on the Porch, and good to have all of you guys here. We have been covering the Republican National Convention and all things related to it and surrounding it. And as we go to the microphone today, there is news breaking, and I thought I would go ahead and pop this up on the screen in case you have not heard about this yet. There is news out of New Jersey, and folks, do me a favor, let me know if you can hear sound on this. We'll check out what's going on. Please let me know if the sound is good, and let's see what we've got. So do me a favor and check this out.
So we have the verdict. Now we know what it is. Eric Shawn, live for us at the Manhattan Federal Court. Eric.
Yes, Harris, guilty. All defendants found guilty on count 1 and 2 are being told right now from the courtroom. This means New Jersey's senior senator, Robert Menendez, who is seeking re-election as an independent, has been convicted of conspiracy to commit bribery and conspiracy to commit honest services wire fraud, along with 2 New Jersey businessmen. As we have been reporting, he was able to skip out and avoid this type of conviction in his last corruption trial, in which it ended in a hung jury. But Robert Menendez, the senior senator from New Jersey, longtime Democrat for decades, in power in the Garden State, former chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee in the Senate, convicted, guilty, according to this, for selling his office, as prosecutors said, for power. He was accused of helping the government of Egypt as well as the government of Qatar, acting indeed as a foreign agent of the Egyptian government in exchange for bribes. Those bribes, prosecutors said, $480,000 in cash, found strewn all over his house, according to the FBI, even in his jacket pockets, in clothes, in boxes, as well as those 13 gold bars found in the closet of his wife, Nadine Menendez, who was also charged. Mrs. Menendez, though, her trial postponed indefinitely because she suffers from breast cancer. But so far, it seems a sweeping victory for the government at this time. At least 3 through 5, Menendez is guilty. So far, the senator from New Jersey is getting a total conviction sweep by the federal prosecutors, convicted of conspiracy to commit bribery, count 1, conspiracy to commit honest services fraud, conspiracy to commit extortion under the color of official right. That's the actual charge, that he extorted these businessmen in order to be part of this scheme. Counts 6 through 8 guilty. There are 16 counts relating to Menendez, 18 related to the other two defendants who are the businessmen. So you have actions to benefit the businessman guilty, services, wire fraud guilty, conspiracy to commit obstruction of justice. That is when the prosecutor said he sent an attorney in to try and explain all this before he was charged. They deemed that obstruction of justice, that he was trying to prevent him being charged. He was also charged with trying to obstruct a federal prosecution of one of his co-defendants, a businessman. Basically, Harris, prosecutors laying out a corrupt 9 through 12 guilty. So we have almost a clean sweep of guilty verdicts here at this courthouse so far.
Well, there you go. And Zippy asked the question, was he a Democrat? Yeah, he's a Democrat. Pretty much. So what happens to him now? Good question. It's New Jersey, so who can say? As far as the politics of it, honestly, I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference, except that, he's actually going to wind up doing the Democrat Party in New Jersey a huge favor. I was talking about this with a good buddy of mine, Smiling Jack, before we came on. And honestly, 4 months outside of an election in New Jersey where he was already thinking about running as an independent, well, this is basically the Democrats' way of lifting the rug, sweeping him under it, dropping said rug, goodbye, he's gone. So, but at least the wheels of justice turn. Bob Menendez has been found guilty on any number of different counts, bribery, selling of office, etc. Goodbye, Mr. Menendez, and not gone soon enough were you. If I may do a little Yoda-ism there, there we go. All right, let's get into some other stuff. By the way, we have oh, doggone it. Hang on a second, folks. That's the bad thing about me and my delete button. I get rid of something sooner than I intended. And this was actually kind of a funny that I thought you all would enjoy. Give me 1 second. I can pull it back up here. At least I think I can pull it back. Ah, yes, here it is. Anyway, as it is the first day of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, there's a lot of talk about things going on. What should we be doing? What should we be getting ready for? How should we prepare for the November election, etc., and so on. And the Republican National Committee apparently has a unique training program for trying to get people to the polls in November. It's called the Flag 'em and Lead 'em program, and we have a secret video of what that program looks like or how they're training for it. I thought I would show it to you guys. So anyway, now we obtained this with a certain amount of discretion. So everybody out here on the internet watching this right now, I need y'all to just kind of be cool. So don't be sharing this around or anything like that. But keep this on the down low. So let's check this thing out. I think you guys will find it. That's what we call the Flag 'em and Lead 'em program, folks. Yeah, we're going to flag them and we're going to lead them. So there you go. Now, in case you didn't catch it the first time, take note. This is what the Republicans are doing as far as getting ready to lead people to the polls in November. Well, there you go. So that apparently is the new way for the Republicans to get people to the polls in November. Take that for what it's worth. Anywho. All right. Let's get into some other stuff. Yeah, really. Oh, goodness. Exactly. Goldbar Menendez has money in his jacket pockets. I remember this scene from the film Goodfellas, where Ray Liotta is trying to decide what suit he wants to wear, and he pulls out a wad of cash from inside one of the jacket pockets. I guess Bob Menendez was watching that very same movie, trying to figure out where to hide all the money. Oh, my gosh. Absolutely crazy. Too crazy. All right, let's get into some other stuff. Yesterday was day one of the Republican National Convention, and a lot of things happened. I'll just give you my thoughts on it. Reuben Christopher Haynes was gracious enough to sit in with me as co-host for last night, and I want to thank him right now. I don't know if he's going to see this later or not, but definitely Reuben has my thanks. And I can now understand in part why networks do not run conventions the way they used to. Oh, now here's something I wasn't aware of. That is a really good question. That is a great question. Because frankly, Joy Reid has more vitriol than I think Morning Mika does. So why she's allowed to be on there, I have no idea. Good hello to you, sir. Our dear friend from around the other side of the world, the Welsh Republic podcast. Do me a favor, give him a shout, give him a follow, give him a sub. The guy is fantastic. Glad to have you here, Welsh. So the first day of the Republican National Convention took place, and like I said, I can kind of now understand why it is that networks don't cover conventions the way they used to. It's like I said yesterday, most of these things anymore are a giant infomercial, especially the first couple of days until you get down to the vice presidential pick and the presidential speech. And yesterday we had don't worry, we're going to get into that too. I've got something on that. We'll get into that. So yesterday, a lot of buzz hit the air when Donald Trump picked J.D. Vance, the junior senator from Ohio, to be his running mate. And this caused quite the stir, as you might imagine. And it's funny how all these things work out. I've got a story here, which we're going to get to momentarily from Politico, talking about that very thing. But before we do, there are some things I think that definitely ought to be mentioned as far as highlights and lowlights from the first day of the GOP convention in Milwaukee. First of all, to be perfectly frank, I found most of the speeches to be boring. There were only a handful of speeches that I thought were even close to being memorable. Okay. Topping that list for me personally, okay, and everybody has their own choice on this one, so I get it. But personally, I thought Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson of North Carolina was absolutely fantastic. Frankly, he should have been given more time. I thought Glenn Youngkin was great. I really did. Glenn Youngkin's speech kind of reminded me of those good old-fashioned stem winders that you find from back in the day. Back before these conventions turned into infomercials where you were trying to crank everybody up. And the Republicans do have a bit of a problem with this convention. And I kind of touched on this last night when I was talking to Reuben. The events that happened in Butler, Pennsylvania on Saturday, in one aspect, have mooted this convention. Whereas the Republicans were coming into this thing with political blood in their eyes, just ready to just rip into Joe Biden and Kamala Harris for, legitimate political grievance. High inflation, low wages, a southern border that's wide open, a logical consequence of that being drugs and crime pouring across our southern border, Joe Biden's abysmal failure on the world stage, etc., and so on. Now, a lot of that has been tapped down, and understandably so. Okay, I sort of get it. But this is the worry that I've got going forward with the remainder of the convention, and that is, okay, at least one political party or one side of the ideological spectrum is trying to honor the supposed wishes of the entire country, and that is cool down the rhetoric. Okay. But there are ways of saying things and there are ways of saying things. I got a bad feeling, that the Republicans are surrendering the ability to legitimately criticize Biden and Harris in the name of trying to tap down, heated political rhetoric. Oh, I can't disagree with you on this, Welsh, on so many different fronts. The West is broken. Absolutely broken. And it's not just the US. It's Great Britain, it's France, it's Germany, it's the great nations of the Judeo-Christian West. I don't disagree with that in the slightest. Not at all, my friend. But in the name, like I said, in the name of trying to tap this thing down, they're just giving up legitimate criticism of Biden. Now, maybe this changes tonight. I don't know. The other thing that's starting to irritate me about the way the Republicans are doing this whole theme night, okay? Make America wealthy again. Well, I think it may have been Gypsy last night who said, I really don't understand why we're going for wealth. How about prosperous? Now that, and I can't disagree, that makes sense to me. This whole theme of, we're doing make America wealthy, make America safe. Okay, I get that, but just how they're doing it so far just really seems kind of ham-handed, at least to me. Now, again, I'm not running the convention, not my show, but the way it's coming off after the first night, it seems like everything is off. And again, maybe it's because of the after effect of what happened Saturday. We shall see. Zippy over on Rumble with a Rumble rant. I've got mixed feelings on Kyle Gass of Tenacious D as they lean on edgy humor. A shame they should have done the full bit. Trump is the metal that cannot be killed. Thank you for the Rumble rant. I appreciate that. Let's focus on the stuff that's broken. How about we do that? I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm getting, and again, maybe my worry is premature here, but I just get that nagging feeling in the back of my head that the Republicans are letting themselves be, what's the word I'm looking for here? Cowed isn't even the right word. They're letting themselves be mooted in their legitimate political grievance against Biden. That's where I'm getting worried. I really am. I really get the feeling that they're just letting stuff go way too easy. And again, maybe tonight it gets cranked up, but we'll see. Again, they're focusing on security tonight. All right, let's see what happens when we get into that. Now, another significant thing that happened last night, and this is causing quite the stir, which I don't quite understand the why. And let's talk about this for a minute. Model and entrepreneur Amber Rose appeared at the Republican National Convention, gave a very heartfelt speech. And there are people on the political right that are just absolutely chewing her over this thing. I want to play a little bit of her speech last night. And, and we're not going to play all of it. The clip that I've got here runs about 3 minutes, 45 seconds, but we'll play just a little bit of it. And then I want to comment on this because I think some of this criticism is absolutely misplaced. And I'll explain why here in just a minute. Okay. So do me a favor, check this out, and then we'll get into it.
My entire family is racially diverse, and I believe the left-wing propaganda that Donald Trump was a racist. My father said, "No, he's not, Amber. What are you talking about?" And when I insisted, he said, "Prove it." So to prove my father wrong, I did my research and looked into all things Donald Trump. People have to do their research. I watched all the rallies, and I started meeting so many of you, his red hat wearing supporters. I realized Donald Trump and his supporters don't care if you're black, white, gay, or straight. It's all love. And that's when it hit me. These are my people. This is where I belong.
Okay, now I want to stop right there for a second. Okay. Now look, I'm an old white guy. All right. You know, fuddy-duddy, whatever term you want to use to describe me as, I get it. Okay. I know little to nothing about this young lady. All right. I freely admit that. Okay. Going in. Don't know much about her background. I know the name. I've seen, photos of her, whatever, etc., so on. Okay. She came there last night to make a speech. Okay. Came there last night to say, hey, I believed all the propaganda. I started doing my research for myself. I found out I was wrong. I found out that you red hat wearing Trump supporters, doesn't matter to y'all if a person's gay or straight or, Democrat or Republican or whatever else, you guys are united around a certain set of principles and I can get down with you guys. And which, by the way, a lot of people have come to the same conclusion. Now, maybe they're as famous as Amber Rose. Maybe they're not as famous as Amber Rose. I don't know. But people start doing the research and they start coming to the conclusion, hey, I may not agree with you guys on everything, but, I can agree with you enough. I can get down with you, But to listen to some people on the right, you just think that, she's the most worst thing that ever happened and we don't want her here, et cetera, and so on. And more particularly, and I think an M169 already referenced this, it's Matt Walsh of the Daily Wire who's absolutely going ape over the fact that this woman appeared here. Okay. Here's his tweet on the RNC gives a primetime speaking slot to a pro-abortion feminist and self-proclaimed slut with a face tattoo whose only claim to fame is having sex with rappers. Truly an embarrassment. Not a single voter will be mobilized by this person. Okay, that's Matt Walsh's take on it. Here's where I come down on this. I mean, and look, I know nothing about this woman's political beliefs. Okay, and also I'd like to respectfully point out the convention is not mine to run. I don't run the RNC. I'm not the former president of the United States. I am not a person of political power. I'm just somebody that, reads the news and has my opinions, and I don't mind sharing them. As you all are painfully aware of, I'm definitely not afraid to share my opinion. I don't understand why Matt Walsh is going ape over this. And there are others, and again, I'm not going to mention names and for various reasons. Their opinions are theirs, and for the record, Matt Walsh has the right to his opinion. That's fine. But like I said, look, pro-abortion feminist, self-proclaimed slut whose only fame to claim is having sex with rappers. Okay. There are a lot of people in the Republican Party who are pro-choice or pro-abortion, depending on which term you like. We're talking about political alliances here. And this goes to something else that kind of is a bugaboo of mine these days when it comes to politics. Everybody's looking for the perfect as opposed to the political. Now, what am I getting at? Everybody wants the perfect political candidate, or they want the perfect messenger, or the perfect everything else. Well, folks, I got bad news for you. That is not going to happen. And I'm not trying to be unkind when I say that. It's not. There is nobody that's going to tick off every box for every person and make everybody happy. I want to give you an example, and maybe this helps make the point of how I'm coming to view this, or how I view it, it's better to say. There's a legendary story that's told. Everybody remembers from history that it was Colonel Andrew Jackson who led American forces at the Battle of New Orleans to defeat the British and run them out of French-occupied territory at the time. Okay. No, excuse me, not French-occupied. We owned Louisiana at that point. I stand corrected. What most people forget from history is that Andrew Jackson had help from a French pirate by the name of Lafitte, a swashbuckling, gold-stealing old French pirate running around out there in the Gulf of Mexico and the Mediterranean, anywhere else he could pirate and plunder and find his booty. How he helped Jackson is back then, maybe it's still true today, there's a whole back channel of bayous and swamps. What Andrew Jackson did with the help of a French pirate was he snuck up on the British from behind and retook New Orleans. And a very famous ditty of a song was penned in the 1950s and 60s that we all remember. We fired our guns and the British kept coming, on and on and on. My point is this. Here's Andrew Jackson, an American colonel and a military man. Here's Lafitte, a French pirate. These two men could not have been as more opposite than you could possibly imagine. Yet they had a common goal, or a common enemy in this case, the British military occupying New Orleans. They found a way to work together. Look, there are going to be people that for one reason or another, hopefully with good motivation, come to this MAGA America First movement that seems to be enveloping the Republican Party and sweeping across the country in a populist format. Not everybody's going to get along with each other, and not everybody's going to agree on everything. But look, we've got a person here in this young lady named Amber Rose. Why the hate? Look, if you don't agree with her lifestyle or how she does things or what she is or certain beliefs that she holds, that's fine. That's up to you. But this is politics. And politics, as the old expression goes, makes for strange bedfellows. You have alliances where sometimes you'd never think you'd have them. You'd have people that you're partnered with that you never thought you would be. So there you go. A couple of quick Rumble rants. Zippy again, thank you very much. In order to fix what's broken, you have to get rid of the corrupt nobles. That rarely makes without mass destruction. Good point. And JL, how you doing, my brother? I finally got a notification. Amber Rose makes me think of politics as strange bedfellows. The former leader of the Slut Walk makes a better spokesperson and bridge builder than many others. There you go. There you go. I mean, look, like I say, if someone like a Matt Walsh or anybody else for that matter, okay, and again, I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to, there's a lot of people in this argument that I happen to love and admire, and I'm not going to get into naming names of who they are. But if Matt Walsh wants to get out there and drop this, fine. But I just think this is short-sighted. You're talking about a political movement, okay, that transcends the question of party. Now, it just so happens that this political movement right now, this MAGA, this America First, whatever you want to call it, happens to find a home in the Republican Party. I think there are populist elements in the Democrat Party as well. But the kind of populism that is taking hold of the Republican Party hasn't taken hold in the Democrat Party yet. So you're not seeing it as much. Now, you're seeing elements of it with Bernie Sanders, but the kind of conservative populism that seems to be sweeping across the country right now has found a home in the Republican Party. If Matt Walsh wants to criticize Amber Rose for her lifestyle or her beliefs or whatever, that's his business. That's fine. But Matt, I ask you to remember, this is politics, and there are moments you're going to be partnered up with people that you never thought you'd be in the same room with. This is one of those moments. And if Amber Rose wants to say, hey, I was wrong about Donald Trump, I was wrong about this MAGA America First thing, and I'm here to say, I can stand with you guys. And the Republican Party wants to invite them to their platform, that's their business. And by the way, Matt, no offense to you, but you ought to keep something in mind, my friend. As the years go by, you're going to run into more of this. Now, how you want to deal with it's up to you. But I'm just saying, be advised going forward, this is what you're going to run into. You're going to be looking around the room. You're going to go, man, what in the heck is this person doing here? Well, guess what, Matt? They're looking back at you thinking the same exact thing. What the heck is Matt Walsh doing here? I didn't know I'd be having to work with this guy. So a little bit of grace there, Matthew. A little bit of grace. But, my good buddy Christian Watson had a very fantastic point, and I think it ought to be shared, which I'm going to do right now. The RNC should continue embracing people like Amber Rose. You cannot preach conservatism to an audience that already agrees with you. You cannot model virtue before a crowd of saints. And most importantly, you cannot judge someone for being a human when you are no better. And buddy, I tell you what, this is one of the reasons why I love Christian Watson. One of the most articulate young men I've ever seen in my life, and he makes the point far better than I ever could. So you had that going on last night. I thought Amber Rose's speech was pretty good. I don't see why everybody is all just bent out of shape about it, to be perfectly honest. I mean, like I say, just speaking for myself, I run into a lot of people in life. We shall see. Well, take. Well, so yeah, we shall see here. Now, the other big news of the day, obviously, was the selection of J.D. Vance as Trump's presidential nominee, and it's still making waves, as you might expect. We were talking about this last night, and I think it sort of bears repeating that when you do something that pisses off all the right people on both sides, then you've made more impact than you know. I said yesterday, I expect the Democrats to go after J.D. Vance. I think the part that I found, I shouldn't say I found it shocking. I think the part that I found quite remarkable is just how much the old Bush establishment wing of the Republican Party went after J.D. Vance as hard as they did. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, one of my least favorite Republicans went after Vance privately and behind the scenes. But then again, this is how this slime bag operates. Lindsey Graham, and well, no, I'm not going to get into that. I know the why. It goes to the argument of keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Lindsey Graham. I want to read you something that he posted the other day, okay? And you're not going to be surprised. This is from the senior senator from South Carolina. This happened at about 3:15. Senator J.D. Vance has one of the most compelling stories in American politics, overcoming so much adversity in life. He understands the struggle of working Americans as he walked in their shoes and has become one of their champions. Bright, articulate, and a Marine veteran, he will serve President Trump well on the campaign trail. It's imperative we win this election to end a disastrous policy of the Biden administration and make America great again. JD is a hard worker with a beautiful family who will be a great spokesperson for the America First agenda. This is a clear choice for America. Trump Vance 2024. Now, you read that and you think to yourself, wow, okay, good. Lindsey's on board. We can't go wrong now. Except, turns out that as we might expect from the senior senator from South Carolina, he is a two-faced lying weasel. And if you don't believe me, I present as evidence to you the following. From the inestimable Tucker Carlson, Lindsey Graham is a liar. No one lobbied harder against J.D. Vance than he did, and in the sleaziest, most vicious way. He was doing it this morning, the morning that Vance was picked as the Veep. This is why everyone hates Washington, because people like Lindsey Graham are happy to lie to your face, smiling as they plot your destruction. It's disgusting. Well, for the record, Tucker Carlson wasn't the only one who had this. Roger Stone, well-connected political operative, I can 100% confirm what Tucker Carlson says here. Lindsey Graham first lobbied furiously for Tim Scott, then lobbied furiously for Marco Rubio, and then tried to destroy J.D. Vance's candidacy for vice president. So there you go. Like I said, I mean, the Democrats coming out against J.D. Vance, that doesn't surprise me. The fact that the old Bush wing of the Republican Party is just this adamantly opposed to Vance. I mean, like I say, I didn't base my support of J.D. Vance on the fact that the Bush wing of the Republican Party wasn't real happy about him. But, you know, it does kind of go to what I said. When you piss off everybody on both sides simultaneously with something that you do, odds are you've probably done the right thing. Although you may not understand why you did the right thing in that moment, you certainly did the right thing. And I'm starting to wonder if picking J.D. Vance is not one of those moments in life. But past all that, the Democrats, as I said, came out hard and fast against J.D. Here's Joe Biden's comment yesterday. Here's the deal about J.D. Vance. He talks a big game about working people, but now he and Trump want to raise taxes on the middle-class families while pushing for more tax cuts for the rich. Well, I don't intend to let them, and if you're with me, pitch in. Okay, so Joe's trying to grift for money. No shock there. Have some other reactions. Chris Murphy, senator from
is now
Connecticut. Stop that. I'm not ready to hear from you yet. We're going to play a little bit of his commentary. And keep in mind, this is one of JD's friends in the Senate from the other side of the aisle. You know, that other side of the aisle that's supposed to be tamping down the temperature on, you know, political discourse in America. Well, here is Senator Murphy, junior senator. Let's hear what he has to even say.
He is now picking a vice president who has pledged 100% loyalty to the cult of Donald Trump. I've also seen, J.D. Vance act in a way that is really dismissive of democracy. He is one of the Republican senators that routinely stops us from being able to approve appointees to the Department of Justice because.
Well, Chris, have you thought that perhaps your appointees to the Department of Justice are actually not interested in justice, and they're more interested in the persecution of the American people vis-a-vis trying to maintain the power of a corrupt regime? But I digress.
Because he does not want the Department of Justice to do its work if...
On the contrary, I would say he does want them to do their work so long as they are working for justice for the American people and the enforcement of already existing law. Thank you very much.
The work is investigating Republicans. So there is a plan, right, written down on paper to transition American democracy to autocracy. There is a very mainstream element of the Republican Party and Trump's infrastructure that is very thoughtful about how they are going to end democratic norms.
How they're going to end democratic norms? Oh, I don't know. You mean democratic norms like not going after your political opponent by using the law system of America? You mean democratic norms that, say you're not trying to jail your political opponent? Those Democrat norms, Chris? I'm sorry. Last time I looked, Donald Trump didn't put Hillary Clinton in jail in 2017. Last time I looked, he didn't go after Joe Biden. He just asked some questions. We'll see. We shall see. So anyway, that's Chris Murphy of Connecticut. Oh, no, okay. Oh, hang on. Candace Owens said, okay. All right. If I can find him real quick, I'll take a look at him. This should be interesting. All right. I'll listen to what Candace Owens has to say. Who else have we got here? Oh, yeah. Van the Man has weighed in on Trump's vice presidential selection. This should be interesting. Let's check Van Jones of CNN. Let's see what he's saying.
Part of the reason that J.D. Vance matters isn't for these kind of short-term electoral calculations. He matters because of what he means to the Republican Party long-term. This is cementing a kind of nationalism. Yeah. Now, Trump, to your point, I agree with you. He's an instinctive, impulsive, intuitive nationalist. J.D. Vance is an ideological nationalist. That's a much more dangerous virus because he can polish this stuff and make it seem palatable to people. He can sell this stuff to Silicon Valley. He can sell this stuff other places. And what it does is it locks the Republican Party on a pathway that I think is dangerous for the world. Again, the Ukrainians are now in deep trouble. NATO is now in deep trouble. Trump he could have gone with a Nikki Haley and signaled to the world, hey, listen, I got to give stuff to my base, but I'm not going to abandon the world. This pick is a horror on the world stage. So J.D. Vance matters because Donald Trump is pointing the Republican Party in a very scary direction for the long term.
Okay. Well, yeah, Leanne, darling, I absolutely agree with that. I do smell fear. Okay. All right. That's interesting. I'd like to know what exactly he means by take care of Iran. I hope he's not talking military action against Iran. Interesting indeed. But I'd like to address a couple of three things that Van the man said in there. I do think he has an interesting take on Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is an instinctual conservative, if I may use that term. What do I mean by instinctual conservative? Well, if you ask Donald Trump, explain to me the intellectual foundations of why it is that you hold this position, that's not Trump. I think Trump's instincts take him to a conservative position depending on the issue, but I don't think that Donald Trump's the guy you sit down, you talk, walk your way through the historical, intellectual foundations of why you hold the position you do. Vance, on the other hand, is a different deal. One of the reasons that I think having JD on the ticket is beneficial is that JD can articulate America First MAGA policy maybe better than Donald Trump can. And the thing is, the fear that Van Jones exercises here, although a little bit misplaced, I think is absolutely correct. When Donald Trump leaves the stage, the question is going to become, who can articulate what this America First MAGA movement is to people maybe they're just coming to go, well, I hear all this all the time, but what does it really mean? What are you guys talking about? JD has the potential to be that spokesperson. Now, again, is he going to agree with Donald Trump on everything? I don't know. He agrees with him on a lot of stuff, it seems. Is he going to agree with how you implement that vision? Probably not. He's going to have his own ideas about how he's doing it. But as far as what it is itself, I think JD could wind up being an excellent spokesperson. I genuinely do. I think Van Jones is misrepresenting, what it is that a lot of people like myself and you and others believe. And again, with notable differences, every one of us is a little bit different in what we believe politically. I mean, for my part, I absolutely categorically reject the idea of, oh, you're an isolationist. No, I'm not. I believe in engaging the world. We are a part of the world. That said, that doesn't mean we need to be the world's policeman or, engage in overwatch for the entire world. That's not our job. Our job as a nation is to do what is in our best interest. And if it just so happens that our interest and your interest coincide, okay, cool. Let's find a way to work together. When our interest and your interest are in conflict, okay, let's see if we can work this thing out without us having to go to conflict over it. But to the neocons, hey, we are the supreme superpower in the world, and by George, you're going to do whatever we tell you to do. Harumph, harumph, harumph. Well, there's just one little problem with that. We don't have unlimited money. We don't have unlimited military power. We don't have unlimited personnel. We don't have unlimited resources to do that. Number one. And number two, even if we had all of that, that begs the more important question, should we do it? Well, after anywhere from 40 to 70 years of American meddling in world affairs, I'm pretty well convinced this neoconservative path that we're on is not healthy in the long-term interests of the United States. It's just not. We've got to stop Putin. Putin's going to take over Europe. Prove it. Oh my gosh, Iran is we've got to do something about Iran. Why? Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. If we've got a friend in the Middle East, it is Israel. Should we help our friend if possible? Absolutely. On the other hand, I'm not so sure this whole going full throttle for our friends is working out to our benefit. And again, with nuanced difference depending on the situation, but you get my point. America's foreign policy should be built around the question, what is in America's best interest? What is in the long-term best interests of our people? And I'm going to ask a question to people out there on the political left. What is wrong with looking out for American interest first? Why is it that we're all so concerned about making sure that the borders of Ukraine are secure, and we're not even doing enough to secure our own borders in the south, or the north for that matter? We're spending millions and billions of dollars to make sure that Ukraine, that their borders are secured against a supposed Russian threat, whereas we're not even willing to put our own military down on the southern border to shut down an invasion. Why? I mean, isn't the first responsibility of a sovereign nation to make sure that it takes care of its own people before it worries about anybody else in the world? Now, again, maybe it's not the most articulate way of saying it, but I think that's a very reasonable question. And I think that's a question that a lot of people in America are asking, even if they don't necessarily identify as being MAGA or America First. In the inherent common sense of the American people, they're looking around going, this is kind of crazy what we're doing here. Why are we doing all this? Anyway, just some thoughts on that. Sorry, I rambled a little bit there. Let's see, what else have we got? Now, as far as the reaction on day one, here's an interesting article from Politico I'll share with you. It's like a pep rally around here. Republicans greet Trump as a hero while Democrats simmer over Biden, which, by the way, we're going to get into that interview that Biden did with Lester Holt, because I tell you what, oh my God. The only saving grace for Joe Biden in that interview is that most people weren't watching it yet, but that may change. Anyway, let's get back to this article from Politico. The moment couldn't be more different for the two rivals. Here's a picture of Trump walking into the convention. Just an amazing sight, I'm telling you. By Adam Wren, Olivia Beavers, and Lisa Kaczynski, we have the following. By the time he entered the convention hall on Monday night, his right ear bandaged, Donald Trump had grasped his party's nomination and introduced a young running mate who could lay the groundwork for a long-term populist conservative movement in his image. His opponent, Joe Biden, was simultaneously fighting to keep his grip on his own party, put in the awkward position of calling his language leading up to Pennsylvania a mistake. Between the assassination attempt on Saturday and the opening of the Republican National Convention 2 days later, it was clear. What was clear was how sharply the shooting and its fallout had reshaped the contest at a critical point in the race, further rallying the GOP. At the same time, Democrat conversations began about replacing Biden had started to linger. Quote, the attempted assassination of the 45th and soon to be the 47th president of the United States has united our conference in a way that nothing else could have done, said Mark Alford, Republican, Missouri. You don't hear about never-Trumpers anymore. There are still never-Trumpers, of course. The former president is viewed unfavorably by more than half of the country. That's a little bit of a stretch. And as Republicans look ahead to a prospective second Trump term, some of the more traditionalists among them are bracing for the same kind of political fallout he sparked during his first administration when the GOP lost the White House and both chambers of Congress. But not in Milwaukee. Even ahead of the shooting, Republicans were reveling in the infighting enveloping the Democrat Party over whether Biden is fit to serve another term after his disastrous debate performance weeks ago. And that freakout, while publicly frozen, has privately intensified in the wake of the assassination attempt. Quote, "It made Trump harder to beat, and so a lot of people feel the only chance we have is with someone new at the top of the ticket," said Democrat Seth Moulton from Massachusetts, one of almost 20 federal lawmakers who's publicly called for Biden to step aside. "Most of the calls I've received are from people who are even more concerned about our chances in November because of the attempted assassination and how some voters, Trump will come out looking like a hero." Jeez, that's awfully morbid. That is really morbid and extraordinarily cynical. Anyhow, and adding Republicans' jubilation on Monday, Judge Eileen Cannon's dismissal of the case special counsel Jack Smith brought against Trump over his alleged hoarding of classified materials and obstructing the federal investigation into it. He still faces other cases and will be sentenced in September in his New York criminal trial. So, yeah, the Republicans are in much the mood to party. So, there you go. I'll drop this in chat on both the Rumble and the YouTube side. I'm also going to drop in an article that actually is really interesting. And again, it's from Politico. It actually has to do with some of the thinking and the decision-making by Trump on how he came to pick Vance. And I really do. I think this is a really good article. As it's about almost 3 o'clock, I can't necessarily get into it right now, but I'll drop it for your purposes. The headline of the article, and this is just classic Trump: "One handsome son of a bitch. How Donald Trump fell for J.D. Vance." You know, that's a good point. That's a good point. Wasn't supposed to miss. Just amazing. Oh, we're gonna get into some of that coverage too, because there's some thoughts I've got about all that. Because there's some news breaking today that I tell you one thing. I have up to this point really kind of guarded my comments about what happened in Pennsylvania on Saturday. But, and I guess I'm guarding my comments because the implication is awful. I know everybody's thinking it, or I should say a lot of people are thinking it. But man, there's only one or two conclusions that I can come to after, starting to go through some of these facts on Saturday. Either we're dealing with a question of profoundly gross incompetence in terms of the Secret Service's protection of Donald Trump on Saturday, or we're dealing with a question of just don't care what happens to Donald Trump in Pennsylvania on Saturday. And that second answer is as kind as I can say it right now. Anywho, one more article related to the first day of events up in Milwaukee yesterday, first day of the convention. And I'll also drop this in chat on both sides. This is an article by Miranda Devine of the New York Post, one of my favorite writers, by the way. Hello, Miss Shia. Glad to see you, ma'am. Trump invites whole nation to new America First Republican Party at the NYC. Read a little snippet or two of this. Donald Trump wore a big white bandage on the ear that took the assassin's bullet just 48 hours as he entered the arena in Milwaukee on the first night of the RNC. As he pointed to his injury and the crowd roared, "USA, USA, USA," When he pumped his fist, the echoes of his tragically foreshortened rally Saturday in Butler, Pennsylvania sent goosebumps through the party faithful. They erupted into a new iconic war cry, fight, 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 as he took his seat in the VIP box alongside his new Veep pick, J.D. Vance. 8 years ago, when Vance wrote the hit 2016 memoir Hillbilly Elegy, documenting his hard-scrabble life growing up in Rust Belt, USA, he was seen as the key to understanding Trump's appeal to a new working-class base. A rabid never-Trumper at the time, his remarkable road to Damascus conversion to MAGA hero is the theme Trump is embracing this week. The first night speakers embodied the invitation Trump is extending to prodigal sons and daughters across the country to join him in the new America First Republican Party he has forged. Democrats, independents, never-Trumpers are all welcome into his hopeful big tent. With the former president watching on, Amber Rose, a former Trump-deranged OnlyFans model, took to the stage and declared her love for him. A little bit further into the article, quote, I believe the left-wing propaganda that Donald Trump was racist, but after she looked into all things Donald Trump, she realized these are my people, this is where I belong, and I put the red hat on too. If it hadn't been past Joe Biden's bedtime, the night would have been self-described most pro-union president gnashing his teeth. In a stunning rebuke to President Biden, Sean O'Brien, president of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, gave the keynote address on behalf of his 1.3 million members. Quote, something is wrong with this country and we need to say it out loud, he said, imploring his friends on the Democrat side to embrace collaboration. Working people know our system is broken. There is a political caste system. Inflation is hurting Americans. This has got to change. He didn't quite endorse Trump, but his mere presence was an ominous message to the Democrats. Another unionist and lifelong Democrat who took the stage before Trump's arrival was not nearly as shy. Robert Bobby Bartels, Jr., business manager, Steamfitters Local 638A, announced he was voting for Trump in November. Now more than ever, we need a president who knows how to get things done. He cited the open border that allows illegal immigrants to take American jobs and lower our wages, and violent crime pushing people out of the cities while Democrats do nothing. That's why this union Democrat, along with many of my union members, will be voting Trump this November so we can take back the country and build back the middle class. Who knows whether Trump's open-door approach will lure enough Democrats and undecideds in November to give him the landslide election he craves, but he's going to give it a red-hot go. The crowd responded by chanting, "We love Trump." And again, I'm going to drop the, okay, I've already dropped it in there. Very good. LMP 69, Donald Trump, they're being, oh, okay, LMP, apparently they're using the words enemy and target. Oh, for heaven's sake. Having the Teamsters there was brilliant, in my opinion. Well, there you go. I can't disagree with that. Cannot disagree with that at all. Yeah, I mean, why the hate? Why the hate? You know. Oh, the Secret Service team? Oh, yeah, absolutely. And again, we'll get into some of this a little bit later. But I want to do a real quick commercial since it's the top of the hour, and it seems like an appropriate moment to do it. If you are just joining this live stream and you're finding it this afternoon, you might be asking, who is this funny fellow in the fedora? Well, my name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. This is a very special edition of Chattin On The Porch. It's a live stream that normally I do Monday through Thursday nights at 7:30 Eastern. But because of the Republican National Convention and the fact that I have the week off, because I'm a dedicated idiot, don't you know, we made the decision to do this live stream during the week or during the regular hours. So we're going to do this for a couple hours, Monday through Thursday this week. And then we'll be picking up coverage again of the convention tonight starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. So if you're not a subscriber to my channel on Rumble and YouTube, if you wouldn't mind, do me a favor and give me a sub, which I've been picking up a lot of new subs lately, especially on the Rumble side, and God bless all of y'all. As a matter of fact, let me just do a real quick shout out to some new Rumble subscribers. We've got, I love this name, Yo Rick 6964, and we have Alex R. Angel 1208 on the Rumble side. So thank you very much. We've got another one, and this is from Saturday. Mahoney Sparky, number 6. Yeah, number 6. Mahoney Sparky, number 6. I love these names that everybody has. These are great. They really are. Load of fun. So thank you all for being new subscribers on the Rumble side. And we've also picked up some folks on the YouTube side. I don't have their names at my fingertips, but thank you all so very much. So please subscribe to my channel on Rumble and YouTube. I'd greatly appreciate it. And also hit the bell for notifications, much like my good friend JL over here. For some strange reason, YouTube's a little bit slack on letting people know when I'm on. So make sure you're always hitting the bell for notifications and give a thumbs up. It would be greatly appreciated. Okay, let's get into this interview last night between Lester Holt of NBC News and President Joe Biden. And guys, I got to tell you something. Sometimes I feel like I use a lot of hyperbolic language. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen, or something in between. But man, I tell you what. You know, Joe Biden keeps trying to tell everybody the debate performance was like a one-off. He had a bad night. He had a cold. He had everything else. I'm telling you what, Joe Biden is about one bad performance away from absolutely washing himself out of this race. Now, last night he had a bad performance, but not for the reasons that you're thinking of right now. I mean, everybody is focusing on the debate, and understandably so. They're focusing on the fact he stumbled over his words. He couldn't finish his thoughts. He couldn't finish sentences. He couldn't, any number of things. And a lot of that debate the other night reinforced what America has been seeing from him for going on really 5 or 6 years. Okay. Even going back as far as 2019 when he got in the race. Okay. But last night's performance was entirely different. He had a bad performance, but the reason that I say he had a bad performance, there are two, well, more than that, but right now there are two Joe Bidens. There's Joe Biden, the doddering old man who, what Robert Hur described as well-intentioned but, very forgetful. And then there's the other version of him, which is what I call Angry Joe, right? Angry Joe Biden, the you kids get off my lawn guy, okay? Then there's a third version of him, mean old son of a bitch, but we'll get into that later. But right now there's two versions of Joe, okay? There's Joe that is forgetful old man, then there's Angry Old Joe. Well, last night, Angry Old Joe showed up. Now, he didn't yell, although there were moments he was just that close to doing it. He didn't yell, he didn't scream, he didn't cuss, he didn't rant, but it was just simmering under the surface. And I'm not the only one that picked up on this, by the way. This is, and you would, some people would say, well, you'd expect this from the New York Post. Lester Holt interview shows Joe Biden a vapid, sullen old crank. Now, this is from their editorial board, right? Monday's Lester Holt interview with President Biden shows that Joe's damage control press tour just keeps doing more damage. It went far worse than his heart-to-heart with George Stephanopoulos, and I'll agree with that, by the way. For starters, Biden couldn't even bring himself to fully apologize for saying Dems should put Donald Trump in a bullseye, and we'll get to some of this. Cold and bad taste indeed after Trump had nearly felled by an assassin's bullet. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's just, we're going to get into some of the clips here in a second, but I wanted to set this up. People who saw this, okay, people who saw this interview last night are sitting there going, oh, honey, strap in, because this is going to get good. Okay. I want to start with the first clip. And this one is what I will call, now it's kind of broad. I'm going to play this and then we'll go over certain parts of it. This runs about 3 minutes. I'm going to stop this where I think appropriate. But this is part of the interview last night between Lester Holt and President Biden. Folks, do me a favor and check this out.
Well, let's talk about the conversation this has started, and it's really about language, what we say out loud and the consequences of those. You called your opponent an existential threat on a call a week ago. You said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. There's some dispute about the context, but I think you appreciate that.
I didn't say crosshairs. I was talking about focus on. Look, the truth of the matter was, what I guess I was talking about at the time was there's very little focus on Trump's agenda.
Yeah, the term is bullseye.
It was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant bullseye. I meant focus on him. Focus on what he's doing.
Folks, I have a question. Can someone please explain to me the difference between a crosshair and a bullseye? Either way, don't they amount to the same thing? That makes you a target. Oh yeah, we're going to see some of that here in a minute. Oh yeah. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, we're going to get to that. All right, let's get back to this. So, crosshairs, bullseye, same difference. Getting on to it.
Focus on his policies. Focus on the number of lies he told in the debate. Focus. I mean, there's a whole range of things that, look, I'm not the guy that said I want to be a dictator on day one. I'm not the guy.
And neither did Donald Trump, by the way.
That refused to accept the outcome of the election.
He said he would not accept it if he thought there was fraud, but then again, I can't really see a Democrat having a problem with that.
I'm not the guy who said that won't accept the outcome of this election automatically. You can't only love your country when you win. And so the focus was on what he's saying, and I mean, the idea.
But have you taken a step back and done a little soul searching on things that you may have said that could incite people who are not balanced?
Okay, now that's a fair question. That is a very fair question on the part of Lester Holt. I give him credit. Okay. But don't you think you should step back and do some soul searching about, the things that you've said that may have, incited people who aren't all that well balanced? Completely fair question, by the way. Honestly, much like Stephanopoulos, I don't have a bone to pick with Lester Holt. I mean, the only problem that I felt with Lester Holt, maybe Stephanopoulos too, but then again, I think Gypsy said it best. He's protected class. Okay. I thought Lester Holt was a little too kind to the president. I think there are ways of asking questions and being just as tough. To me, I won't say he let Biden do whatever he wanted, but he could have been a lot tougher. But then again, I'm not surprised in one sense by the way he did it. But anyway, completely fair question from Lester Holt. Don't you think you should have some soul searching, some reflection about, how you may have used language that caused people who are unbalanced to take action? Listen to Biden's response to that.
Well, I don't think, look, how do you talk about the threat to democracy, which is real, when a president says things like he says? Do you just not say anything because it may incite somebody?
That's your answer? That apparently, in your mind, Trump is such a threat to democracy, whatever the hell that even means, that you would risk using language that has the potential to incite somebody to do something crazy. That's what you're saying here. That Trump is just that big a threat that you will forego the risk of using what might wind up being incendiary language. Unbelievable, this guy. All right, let's continue with this.
Look, I've not engaged in that rhetoric.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Stop right there. Stop right there. I have not engaged in that rhetoric? Really? You have not engaged in that rhetoric, huh? Oh, boy. Okay, well, all right. Here you go. This is from the guy who has not engaged in that rhetoric. Let's just go down through the list here. Let's see. Donald Trump is the greatest threat to our democracy. Donald Trump is a genuine threat to the nation. He's a threat to our freedom. He's a threat to our democracy. He literally stands as a threat to everything America stands for. That was from June. Let's see. What else have we got here? Oh, here's some other ones. Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy. We cannot let him win. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, talking to folks about what's at stake in this election. Tune in. Trump poses many threats to our country, the right to choose, civil rights, voting rights, and America's standing in the world. But the greatest threat he poses is to our democracy, and if we lose everything. Oh, yeah, I have not engaged in that rhetoric. Oh, yeah, no, I've never said anything like that. No. Mr. President, the internet remembers. I have not engaged in that rhetoric. You are... Thank you. Thank you. High five. Oh, I have not engaged in that rhetoric. Oh, my God. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable with this guy. M169 over on Rumble says, excuse me, what the F? Yep. There you go. Oh, yeah. I have not engaged in that rhetoric. You are so... Sir, you are full of shit like a Christmas goose. Well, no, don't worry. I'll high five. High five. Oh, my God, this guy. All right. Let's get back to it. There's more of this.
Now, my opponent is engaged in that rhetoric. He talks about there'll be a bloodbath if he loses.
That's a fraud, and Lester Holt should have called him out right there. The only bloodbath that was being, and I'm not, no, I will take the time to do it. I will take what he was referring to as an economic bloodbath to the auto industry. Okay, let's go on with this idiot.
Talking about how he's going to forgive all the, actually, I guess, suspend the sentences of all those who were arrested and sentenced to go to jail because of what happened in the Capitol.
He said that he would take a look at every one of them, and if he determined that they were sentenced unjustly and shouldn't have never been put in jail in the first place, yes, he would commute their sentences or pardon them. And there's nothing wrong with that, Joe. That's under the power of the presidency, which he is allowed to do that. Shall we continue?
I'm not out there making fun of, like, remember the picture of Donald Trump when Nancy Pelosi's husband was hit with a hammer, joking about it?
This doesn't sound like you're turning down the heat, though. You've talked about
No. Look.
Oh, no. Wait. Watch what Lester just said. This doesn't sound like you're turning down the heat. Good on Lester. Good on you, boy. Good on you, my friend. Good on you. Let's hear what Biden's got to say to that.
What I'm turning down, we have to stop the whole notion that there are certain things that are contrary to our democracy that we're for. The idea of saying that you...
Wait, what? What did you just... Hang on. Because even I'm having trouble understanding that.
Contrary to our democracy that we're for. The idea of saying that I didn't win the election when every court in the land Every court in the land, 120 appeals said, and including this conservative Supreme Court, said we won. The idea of having a loyalty pledge from all the folks who are in a Republican MAGA, not all Republicans, the MAGA Republicans.
What loyalty pledge is that? Yeah, exactly. What is exactly he's talking about here? I have no idea. I'm like you. Loyalty pledge? All right.
Saying that, no, we lost the election, inflaming the people say,
So what can you and what will you do, at least things you can control to lower down the temperature, the rhetoric out there?
All right, and that's a great question too, but that's the end of the clip. Now, we've got a few more of these, and I'm telling you right now, the New York Post described him as angry and sullen. You're going to see Angry Joe here in a few minutes with some of these clips. Here's a good one. And Lester, with this clip, asked Joe a question that is wholly appropriate. Now, watch how Biden answers this, because I said he had a bad night. You're going to start seeing why I'm saying that here in a minute.
If you were to continue to run and be officially nominated, what happens if you have another episode like?
Notice how he just laughed there? Remember what I told you guys about Biden's tell? You know that you just irritated him or pissed him off when he starts looking at you and he gives it that, can you believe this guy reaction? That's when you know you got Joe. That's when you know you tagged him with something. When he gives it that, this guy, can you? You just hit him in a place he doesn't like being hit. You just hit a soft spot on him. That's Joe's tell. But anyway, let's start this back up again. Now watch this.
If you were to continue to run and be officially nominated, what happens if you have another episode like we saw during the debate?
What happens if another?
Yeah, what happens if you have another performance on that level?
I don't plan on having another performance on
that level. I don't plan on having another performance on that level. Okay, well, I guess my question is, what kind of drugs are they going to pump you full of to keep you from acting like that? I mean, how many weeks do you have to stay off the campaign trail to get ready for a debate? Yeah, he starts doing it there at the end of. Yeah, it is creepy. And this whole, I'm not going to have another performance like that. Okay, then Joe, I guess here's my question for you. What are you going to have to do to get ready for the debate? Go back to 2020 for a second, okay? They took him off the campaign trail for the two debates, and one of these I remember very specifically. They took him off the campaign trail for 2 solid, matter of fact, I think it was 20 days. 20 whole days. Okay? In this most recent performance, they took him off the trail for, what was it, 9-10 days? Hello, sir. We were just commenting on one of your tweets earlier with regard to the whole Amber Rose situation. Well, please, ladies and gentlemen, say hello to the inestimable Christian Watson. I mean, what do you have to do to get ready for it? And here's the point of why I'm asking that question. And this is for you Democrats out there, okay? What does he have to do to get ready? Keep in mind, there are things that can happen in the United States or around the world that happen like that. Is he going to need like 72 hours to get ready to respond to it? Is he going to need a week? Is it a couple of weeks, a month, 6 months? I mean, all of these questions speak to one issue: his fitness for office. Fitness. Let's just lay aside the question of the physical. Let's just talk about his mental ability to do the job. If we're sitting around having to ask the question, how many days or weeks do you need, or how, what's going to happen if you have another performance like this? Everybody's already made up their mind. They know he'll have another performance like this. The only question is not if, it's a question of when. All right, let's get to another one here. I told you guys that Joe had a bad night. You could see angry Joe Biden creeping in here. This is probably one of the best examples that you're going to see of this. Folks, we're going to comment on this when it's done. This runs almost a minute. Check this out.
Mr. Trump has said he's giving you a chance to redeem yourself. Basically, the idea of engaging in another debate.
We're going to have another debate.
Yeah, you're going to have one in September that's on the books. Would you be open to doing one in the next few weeks?
I'm going to debate him when we agreed to debate, and I'm going to debate him in September.
But if the opportunity came up to do one between now and then, is there a sense of wanting to get back on the horse?
Now, watch what he does here. Is there a sense of wanting to get back on the horse? The idea being, well, you fell off your horse, Mr. Biden. You want to try and get back on it? Listen to how Biden responds to this.
I'm on the horse. Where have you been? I've done 20.
He's getting mad. He's getting mad right here.
22 major events, met thousands of people, overwhelming crowds, a lot happening. I'm on the horse. What I'm doing is going out and demonstrating to the American people that I'm in command of all my faculties, that I don't need notes, I don't need teleprompters.
I don't need notes, I don't need teleprompters.
I can go out and answer any questions at all. And I stood there when NATO was in town. I stood there for an hour and answered questions.
But again, the ability to engage in an activity is not the same as proof of your quality in terms of being able to do it. And he knows this. He knows this. He's trying to, and again, this is another example of Joe Biden trying to change the standard by which he ought be judged. Listen to what he's saying. I'm doing events. I'm out there. I've done 22 major events talking to thousands of people. I was on stage giving a press conference after the NATO summit was over with. I was up there for an hour answering questions. Yes, you are able to engage in activity, but just because you're able to engage in activity does not mean that you're doing it very well. But what Joe's trying to do is convince you, hey, I'm doing stuff. I'm over here and I'm traveling there and I'm talking to this guy and that's not the same thing, sir. But notice, I'm on the horse. I'm on the horse. Folks, I'm telling you right now, he is about one question away from snapping on somebody. I'm serious. Would he engage in some kind of act of physical violence? No, of course he wouldn't do that. But I'm telling you right now, he's getting sick and tired of being asked this question about his mental fitness for the job. And he's also getting even more further sick and tired of having to answer this question about his mental fitness to do the job. Yeah, this is a great point. I went to the bathroom without help. Exactly. Yeah, okay. You see, you get exactly what I'm saying. Just because you have the ability to do something does not necessarily mean you're doing it well. But I am telling you, it's answers like this and some other stuff that we're going to watch. Angry Joe was on display last night, and his only saving grace is that most everybody was focused on Milwaukee last night watching the RNC. I am telling you, he's about one interview away, one question away from just cutting loose on somebody, and the American people are going to see him for what he is, what most of us know him to already be, an angry, petty, mean-spirited old SOB. He has been this way for years. And I don't think anybody, myself included, by the way, realized just how ruthless this son of a gun could be. And it's demonstrated now in how effectively he's hanging on to power with every ounce of a grip in his hands politically. But all right, let's go on to another one. Now, he did have some slips last night, and this one, although minor, is kind of one of them. So, folks, do me a favor, listen to this.
It's an open question.
Is it acceptable that you have still not heard, at least publicly, from the Secret Service director?
Well, I've heard from him.
Him? I've heard from him? What? Yeah, let's finish this.
But have you heard from her publicly?
Now, notice what Lester Holt did. Oh, you've heard from her publicly.
Publicly, I've sat down in a situation room downstairs with the Secret Service, the FBI, the national security agencies, the Homeland Security, all the major elements.
All right, I want to back this up and play it again.
It's an open question.
Is it acceptable that you have still not heard, at least publicly, from the Secret Service director?
Well, I've heard from him.
I've heard from him. Heard from him. Oh, boy. I tell you what. Okay, this one is another. This one's going to be another example of Angry Joe. And I'm telling you, I am absolutely convinced of this. He's about one interview question away from just cutting loose on somebody. I mean it. And again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll have enough self-restraint to be able to not, start going into angry. No, well, it's nothing to be scared of. There's nothing to be scared of at all. I'm just telling you, he's getting more and more angry. And like I said, over the years, you can tell when you've hit Joe Biden, in a soft spot, because he'll give it that, can you? Or the whole, oh, that's ridiculous. Oh, come on, man. Stuff like that. But it's getting harder and harder for him to hide his irritation with these continued, and by the way, legitimate questions, which frankly should have been asked 6 years ago. But it's getting harder and harder for him to hide how angry he is about all this. Oh, we're going to get into this. Hang on to it. We're going to get into this. All right, here's another example of Angry Joe.
I listen to them.
In your last TV interview, you were asked if you had watched the debate, and your answer was, I don't think so, no. Have you since seen it?
I've seen pieces of it. I've not watched the whole debate.
And the reason I ask, because I guess the question is, are you all on the same page? Are you seeing what they saw, which was moments of, frankly, that appeared to be, you appeared to be confused?
Okay, now, I give Lester Holt a lot of credit right here, because this is his way, in Lester's own way, in his own style. This is Lester Holt's way of getting up in your face and going, hey, did you see what everybody else saw? They saw moments of confusion. They saw moments you couldn't remember what was going on. Okay? And I give Lester credit here. I really do. How he words it may not be as like in your grill as, but he's in Biden's grill on this, in Lester's own way. Did you see what everybody else saw in those moments that you did watch it? I mean, did you see those moments of confusion? Now listen to how Biden responds to this. Here comes Angry Joe.
Lester, look, why don't you guys ever talk about the 28 lies he told?
That's not going to do it. That's what you call deflection, folks. That's what you call deflection. I'm telling you, he's getting mad about this stuff. Back to the clip. Why don't you ask him about his lies? No, we're asking you about your performance. That's the question, sir.
Where are you for this? Why didn't the press ever talk about that? 28 times.
He's leaning in. He's like, why aren't you talking about this? It's like, why aren't you guys talking about this? Where's the press? Where are you guys at? Oh yeah. He's mad. He's angry. And he's getting madder the longer this interview goes. I really recommend you guys watch this whole thing.
It's confirmed he lied in that debate. He lied. I had a bad night. I wasn't feeling well at all. and I had been, without him making it, I screwed up. But
I just asked the question because the idea that you may or may not have seen what some of these other folks have seen, you're not on the same.
I'd have to see I was there.
He's getting mad. He's laughing about it. He's trying to hide it. He's trying to hide how angry he's getting, but you can see it. I mean, and I know people are going to watch this live stream and go, Front Porch, you are just obsessed. No, I'm not. I'm not obsessed about this. But you've got to watch this guy carefully. Look, I'm not sitting here claiming to be any expert on Joe Biden, but I've watched this guy long enough to know how he is, and I'd like to think I'm a fairly decent student of human behavior, and I'm telling you, this guy's sitting here getting mad at these questions, how he's responding, the laughter, the deflection, the whole turning around and go, how come you guys aren't doing something about this? I am telling you, this guy's getting pissed. He's mad about these questions. He's tired of answering them. He wants to put this behind him, but the problem for him is nobody in the press is going to let him do it. What is seen cannot be unseen, or maybe as Kamala says it, we cannot be unburdened by the burden, or whatever the hell phrase it is she uses, but you get my point. Anyway, back to the rest of this clip.
I had to see it. I was there. And by the way, seriously, you won't answer the question, but why didn't the press talk about all the lies he told?
Well,
I haven't read anything about that.
We have reported many of the issues that came up during that debate.
No, you haven't. Listen to this. This exchange is extraordinary. This exchange is absolutely extraordinary. Angry old Joe, I'm telling you right now, angry old Joe is coming out in this clip. Y'all, I mean, and fine, if you don't want to believe me, that's fine. If I wind up being wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm telling you, it's there. Yeah, her phrase, unburdened by what has been. Well, the problem for the press is now there is no unburdening them of what has been. They are burdened by it, and they're trying to ask Joe, what's going on here? Which, by the way, they've all known this for years. The only reason they're asking Joe about it now is they finally got caught. And by caught, I mean the people of the United States on that night, June 27th, saw Joe Biden in the real condition that he is in. But yeah, I want to back this. I want to back this up for a few seconds because I'm telling you, it's right there, man. It is absolutely there. Watch this again.
Not on the same.
I'd have to see I was there. I had to see it. I was there. And by the way, seriously, you won't answer the question, but why didn't the press talk?
You won't answer the question. You won't answer the question I'm asking you.
Talk about all the lies he told.
Well,
I haven't read anything about that.
We have reported many of the issues that came up during that.
We've reported many of the issues. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. Oh, this is incredible to watch. He is literally melting down right in front of God and the world. Like I said, the only saving grace for Joe Biden is that this thing has not been widely disseminated on social media and around the press, and that everybody was focused on Milwaukee last night. That's his only saving grace out of all this. Back to the rest of the clip, another 5 seconds of it.
Debate.
No, you haven't.
We'll provide you with them.
God love you.
Okay.
God love you, but you haven't done it. Oh my, I'm putting this clip in chat for you guys. I mean, you can always look it up on your own. I know you guys are media savvy enough to be able to do it, but I've just got to share this one because if you've got friends of yours that are still trying, that are, whatever, they're on the fence about what to do, show them this. Have this conversation with them. Look, I'm not trying to get you to apostatize for anybody here. But if there are friends of yours that are genuinely struggling in their mind and they're saying, and maybe the stuff about Biden's being overblown, maybe, it's just so over the top. No, not really. Not really. Show them this one. Show them this one and let them see it. And I'm telling you right now, when your friends start seeing this, they're going to come away from a totally different perspective. And I think they're going to be surprised when they start looking at it. Okay. We're going to shift gears here in a second and talk about Butler, Pennsylvania. Before we do, let me do a real quick commercial. if you're here, and we've got folks here, M169, we got Gypsy, we got Leah, we got Seabass, we got my good buddy JL. He's hanging out with us this afternoon. We got Christian Watson. We got all kinds of people in chat on the Rumble and the YouTube side. But for those of you maybe that are strangers to this live stream, first of all, howdy. My name is Brian Trippett. I am known in social media as the Front Porch Conservative. This live stream is called Chattin On The Porch. Under normal circumstances, we do this live stream Monday through Thursday nights at 7:30 Eastern. But because of the Republican National Convention and the fact that I'm able to do coverage of it this week, we kind of moved it back to the middle of the afternoon, around 2 o'clock. So that's kind of why we're gathering here. And again, if you're not familiar with what I do, I comment on the news, much like a lot of social media folks these days. And I have a regular job. And, this is kind of what I do for my hobby and my fun and, in one sense, my stress relief. I know, kind of an odd hobby, I suppose, talking about politics the way I do. But, hey, I have fun doing it. This live stream is known as Chattin' on the Porch, and this is the electronic front porch. We get together, we hang out, we talk about the news, we give our views. And I tell you what, and I mean this in all sincerity, I got the coolest audience on the internet. So if you're not a part of it, it doesn't take much to become a part of it. Subscribe to my channel on Rumble. Subscribe to my channel on YouTube. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications and always give a thumbs up whenever you see a video or a live stream coming out. We are a small going little concern. We'd like to become a going big concern, but I can't do that without y'all. And let me tell you something. Been doing this a little over a year. I'm having a blast doing it, despite the occasional technical boomers that I engage in, much to the hilarity of my audience. But it's a load of fun, and I love you guys, and I love my audience, and like to see this going little concern become a going big concern. So with that, let us shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about Butler, Pennsylvania. It has now been Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 3 full days, 72 hours. Really, a little less than 72 hours from when the assassination attempt on former President Donald J. Trump happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. And information is coming out far and wide and fast. And I guess I want to talk first about something that to me is sort of an amazing phenomenon that's coming out of all this. And this phenomenon is not necessarily new to this event that took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. But it has to do with what one of my acquaintances or my friends calls, well, actually it's Robert Barnes. I shouldn't say friend. It's not like we know each other, but I respect his opinion greatly. He calls it the democratization of information. I believe that's how he phrases it. But basically the idea being that narratives or news is no longer really controlled by the mainstream media. Now, what he's getting at, and what I'm going to get at in my own way, is we no longer have to rely on ABC or NBC or CBS or CNN or MSNBC or the New York Times or the Washington Post. I mean, pick whatever mainstream media outlet you want. We no longer have to rely on them for information. Number one, there is a growing and very healthy alternative media. A lot of it driven by what I'm doing. For example, what I'm doing right here. Here I am. I'm a fellow living in West Virginia, and I've got a couple of monitors and a fairly decent camera and a nice little circle light and all that happy jazz. And I'm here, streaming out over the internet. But I'm not the only one. By comparatively, I'm a relative small fry in the great social media world in which I now find myself. But you got guys like Benny Johnson and Tim Pool and Steven Crowder. You've got Viva Fry. You've got Russell Brand. You've got the legendary Alex Jones. You got Steve Bannon. You've got all these great and different content creators, Candace Owens. You got Jimmy Dore. You got Mike Malice. And we're all sitting around, looking at information, and we're, saying, hey, what about this point? Well, have you thought about that? The democratization of information. We don't have to rely on, what I call the gatekeeper media to make determinations about, what's going on or what we should think about events. We can come to these conclusions on our own. And something else that leads to the democratization of information, a handy little device like this. Man, there have been images and videos coming out of Butler, Pennsylvania, that are absolutely causing people to open their eyes and actually, in some cases, force the mainstream media, based on what individuals are doing on their own, it's causing people to ask appropriate questions. Now, that's the setup to what we're going to talk about next. And what we've been finding out, and I say the collective we the American people, have been finding out about what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. Oh, man. I said a little while ago, I've been very, very guarded about my commentary about what happened. And we did a live stream Saturday night, like a lot of people, talking about what happened, trying to get our arms wrapped around it, etc. And I've been guarded because some of the implications of what we're finding out, if you take them to their logical conclusion, is so bone-chilling that I even hate to think about it because of the evil that's implied in the statement. And I guess even in the midst of those realities, I'm still going to try and be as guarded as I possibly can. For reasons that I think are wholly appropriate. But at a minimum, I'm coming to one of two conclusions about what happened on Saturday. Either we've got an issue of the Secret Service cared about what they did, but were so thoughtlessly negligent that their actions led to what happened. Or they didn't care at all, and we have what happened on Saturday. One implies they wanted to make sure that the president was safe. One is, I don't care if he's safe or not. And it's the second one that is just dreadful in its implications of where it could go from there, which is, like I said, it's part of the reason why I'm being somewhat guarded with the words I use. But anyway, let's get into some things that people are finding out and people are pointing out. I start first with a tweet from Sean Parnell, himself a social media commentator. He lives in Pennsylvania. He was actually at one point might have wound up being the candidate for Senate in 2022. Had a lot of very nasty circumstances not worked out the way they did. I want to read his tweet, and then I want to show you a picture. Everyone needs to see this photo to appreciate the tactical negligence that occurred during the assassination attempt on Donald John Trump. This photo was taken just minutes before the first shots were fired. Donald John Trump is oriented toward the shooter at this point. Look in the upper left-hand photo, upper left of this photo. Okay. So let me get this pulled up, and I will enlarge this to make it easier for y'all to see, okay? There we go. There's Trump. There's the building where the shooter was located and took his shot. Now look at that. Here's the building where my pointer's at. Here's Trump. Okay. Now let's go back to the rest of the tweet. You can see my wife and I to the right of the Secret Service agent in the front row. Okay. Here's Parnell. Here's the wife. Here's the Secret Service agent. Now this is the rest of the tweet. There is no excuse to not have someone on that roof. None. It amounts to the most stunning incompetence and negligence in a tactical situation that I have ever been a part of, which, by the way, Sean Parnell's former military. So this guy has experience being shot at and shooting people. Back to the rest of his tweet. It is simply incomprehensible to me how this happens. The only thing that is more incomprehensible to me is how the director of the Secret Service still has their job. And Sean Parnell is absolutely right. And some of the stuff we're going to talk about now, it is just extraordinary when you start hearing this information. Hold, honey, you hold on to that word sloped. You hold on to that. Okay, because we got some stuff here that's just going to absolutely blow your mind. It's like you have to be tied off like a roofer. Oh, get ready. Oh, honey, get ready. I've got something here from the Federalist. Give me 1 second here, folks. I just need to readjust my seat real quick. All right, there we go. That's better. Okay, I've got a report here from the Federalist. Report. 3 counter snipers were in the building that the shooter used. They even took photos of him. Let me read that again. 3 counter snipers were in the building that the Trump shooter used. They even took photos of him. If the headlines are making you mad, the article is going to make you even worse. Again, here's a picture of it. Here's Trump at the stage. Here's where the gunman was at, 450 feet. Article by Tristan Justice. We have the following. 3 law enforcement officers were stationed inside the building where a gunman shot former President Donald Trump at a Pennsylvania rally on Saturday. 2 days after the failed assassination attempt, BeaverCountian.com reported that an officer confirmed, quote, there were 3 counter snipers stationed underneath the same roof where the assailant blew off part of President Trump's right ear. Officers notified the command center about the threat before the gunman fatally shot a rally goer and injured 3 others, including the former Republican presidential nominee. Quote, a Beaver County police officer warned a command center of seeing a man with a rangefinder before former President Trump was shot on Saturday, reported the website. The officer also had warned the man was scoping out the roof of the building he was stationed in as a counter sniper, and the man returned with a backpack before scaling the building. Oh my God. Y'all realize what's being said here? The shooter walked up to the building, walked back to his car, got the gun, walked back to the building, got up on the building. And the authorities knew it. This Beaver County police officer calls into command center. Hey, I got some weirdo over here walking around. This guy looks flaky as hell. And the worst part, 3 counter sniper agents were inside the building. This 20-year-old kid's up on the roof, and there are 3 counter snipers in the building. They're under him. They are literally under him when the shot's going off. Oh, it gets worse. According to CBS News, law enforcement even took a picture of him before the gunfire. And I've got the article right here from CBS. Let me see if I can find it here. Here it is from CBS News. Law enforcement sources said bystanders spotted the shooter with a rifle on a roof about 400 feet from where the president was speaking in Butler, Pennsylvania, and reported his presence to the authorities. The sheriff of Butler County said a police officer was hoisted by another officer to look on the roof. Shooter pointed the rifle toward the officer, who let go and fell down. The shooter then turned toward the rally and fired 6 to 8 shots using an AR-style weapon. Secret Service sniper shot and killed him. Oh my God. Unbelievable. But it gets even, goes on from there. Quote, contrary to reports in national news outlets, officers say the building just outside the security perimeter established by the Secret Service was in fact occupied by law enforcement, added the BeaverCountian.com. And we go further into the article. But the security failures go even deeper. According to NBC News, the Secret Service was made aware of the unique threat presented by the building days before the Pennsylvania rally, yet the building wasn't included in the official security perimeter. Quote, no, there were no officers posted on the building used by the would-be assassin outside the event's security perimeter, but only about 148 yards from the stage, within range of a semi-automatic rifle like the one the gunman was carrying, said NBC News. Local police resources were reportedly dedicated to securing outside the Secret Service perimeter. While the Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle said the former president's team had not requested extra security, a source told the Federalist that Donald Trump's security detail had requested more protection and resources, but the Biden administration's Department of Homeland Security denied it. Cheadle said Monday, however, she would not step down. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just unbelievable. And folks, it gets even worse from there. I'm going to drop this article. I'm going to drop this article and the supporting details that are included. I'm going to drop it here in just 1 second. I'm dropping it right now in Rumble for anybody who wants to look at it. The article from the Federalist and CBS and NBC News. And give me 1 second and I'll drop it on the YouTube side. Just unbelievable. 3 counter snipers literally under this guy. But that sort of begs the question, and a very important one. Okay, you obviously had 3 counter snipers in the same building where this kid climbed up on the roof.
Mark and Tim, stay with us. And joining me now is the man who filmed the video of the suspect on the roof, Michael DeFrescia. Michael, just take us back to that moment. You had the wherewithal to start videoing. A lot of other people.
Sorry about that. Here's another piece of news that is absolutely mind-boggling. Up to now, everybody has been saying, well, the authorities knew, at least 2.5 minutes before the shots were fired. Oh, no, folks. It gets worse than that. From Fox News, officer reported man at Trump rally with rifle finder 30 minutes before the assassination attempt. 30 minutes authorities knew about this kid. Oh, and you hold that question, because, this is what I'm wondering. Why weren't these guys up on the roof? We got an answer for that. Okay? 30 minutes they knew about this kid being there. A local law enforcement officer spotted a suspicious young man carrying a rangefinder in or just outside the venue before former President Trump took the stage at his rally in Butler, Pennsylvania on Saturday, according to local law enforcement. The officer reported the sighting to state police, the source said. He took a photo, and there was a discussion about whether he was carrying a pair of binoculars to try and see the rally better. A few minutes into Trump's remarks, a would-be assassin identified as Thomas Matthew Crooks, 20, opened fire, according to authorities. He wounded the former president, killed a 50-year-old father of two, wounded two more spectators before Secret Service counter-sniper neutralized the threat. It was not immediately clear how long Crooks was on the roof, but sources say he was initially seen without the gun about 30 minutes before the attack. Local authority reports to state police, hey, I got a guy over here. I got a picture of him. I'm not sure what's up with this dude, but, you guys need to know about this. Turns out the kid was carrying a rangefinder. People couldn't figure out, is he carrying binoculars? Is he carrying a rangefinder? Excuse me, what difference does that make? Why didn't somebody go check on it? 30 minutes before the shots were fired. Now, M169 asks the appropriate question. What good are snipers inside the building? Well, there's an answer for why they weren't on the roof. And this, if the other stuff I've shown you so far just does not make your blood boil, this is going to do it. For sure. And this is not from, what I'm about to give you next is not right-wing media. It's not from Breitbart. It's not from War Room. It's not from Alex Jones. It's not from anybody else. This comes from the UK. It's not even an American newspaper. UK Daily Mail. Check this out. Secret Service director gives bizarre reason why an agent wasn't on the roof where gunman Thomas Matthew Crooks opened fire on Trump as she rejects calls to resign. Listen, an article by Jeff Earl, Deputy U.S. Political Director for UK Mail in Milwaukee. Embattled Secret Service head Kimberly Cheadle has revealed the fateful and bizarre reason why her agency failed to put an agent on the roof gunman Thomas Matthew Crooks used to carry out an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Cheadle, who is facing calls to resign over the massive security failure, said Secret Service officials planning security for Trump's rally considered the warehouse 147 yards away from where Trump spoke to be a risky... Now listen to this. They considered it to be a risky position for stationing an agent. Chilling new details revealed that a team of local police snipers were inside the building where 20-year-old Crooks opened fire, shot Trump in the ear, and killed a member of the rally crowd. Crooks managed to evade the cops and Secret Service 3 times, even though he'd been deemed suspicious and could have been on the roof for upwards of 30 minutes before he pulled the trigger. Witnesses also begged law enforcement to act when they saw him climbing on the roof with an AR-styled rifle, but the lapse in security meant he was able to carry out his bid to take the 45th president's life. The mistakes that led to Trump being inches away from being killed sparked calls for Cheadle to step down, but she has refused and has now given a baffling explanation as to why there wasn't a presence on the roof that had a clear line of sight to Trump. Now listen to this. Quote, that building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point. And so, there's a safety factor that could be considered there that we wouldn't want to put somebody up on a sloped roof, she told ABC News in an interview Tuesday. And so, the decision was made to secure the building from the inside. I'm going to read that again. that building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point, and so, there's a safety factor that would be considered that we wouldn't want to put somebody up on a sloped roof. Really? A sloped roof, you say? I have a question there, Kimberly. By chance, would this be the same sloped roof you're talking about? I mean, that's the one. That's it. That's your sloped roof. You have 3 snipers in the building, Kimberly. And you're worried about the safety of the snipers up on a slope. That's not a slope. I've seen grades on roads that are tougher to get a bicycle up than it would be. I could take a bicycle across the top of that thing, you idiot. Sloped roof. Oh, well, there's a safety concern about putting somebody up there. How about the safety of the former president, you idiot? You damn near got him killed because you were worried about the safety of an agent on a sloped roof. You jackass. Oh, my God. Fire this woman. Fire her now. Sweet Lord in heaven, deliver us from this. So like I said, there's only one or two explanations. Either people cared and they were just stupid, or they didn't care at all and it happened. I'm inclined to think they just didn't care at all. Which, like I said, that answer has some very nasty and extraordinarily evil implications to them. Yeah, someone, lay aside the question of Trump. There's a 50-year-old man who's dead, a man who was a husband and a father, because you were worried about the slope on a roof. That slope, by the way, that slope. I could run a bicycle up. I have climbed hills on road bicycles way steeper than that. I could go across the top of that thing. I couldn't tell you how many times just walking the damn thing, laying aside whether I'm on a bicycle or not. Fire this woman immediately. Her and everybody else involved in the Secret Service's protection detail covering this. But her for damn sure. Just unbelievable. And by the way, I want to find something real quick if I can. Give me 1 second here, folks. Let me pull this down. Give me 1 second here. Tell me something, Kimberly. I have a question for you. You didn't want to put counter snipers up on the roof of that one building, this building right here, because it has a sloped roof on it. Okay? So, tell me something. How come that roof doesn't get covered and this one does? I mean, I grant you this is at a distance, but by my way of examination, just on eyesight, that roof is a lot more sloped than this one is. So you had 2 counter sniper guys up on this roof. And I'll even enlarge this. Y'all make up your own mind. You guys tell me what you think. So this roof has more of a slope to it than this one does. Yet you had guys up on this roof and you had nobody here. Kimberly Cheadle, I have no idea if you are ever going to see this live stream or this part of my live stream, but I'm going to tell you something right now. And I'm saying this on behalf of millions of Americans, and I don't even care if they're Donald Trump supporters or not. Even good and decent people who aren't Trump supporters or aren't Republicans or anything else can look at all of this evidence collectively together and come to the obvious conclusion. At a minimum, madam, you should not have your job because you don't know what the hell you're doing. So for the good of the country, the future good of former President Trump, and by the way, the current good of the occupant of the White House, Joe Biden, resign your job. Just get out. You are in way over your head. You don't know what the hell you're doing, and you need to quit. Good point. Thank you, by the way. I appreciate that. Three guys, trying to find a good way to point. 3 guys inside this building, and you're worried about the curve, you're worried about the slope of this roof, the angle of it, and on the other hand, this roof has more of a slope, and you've got guys up there. Lady, clear out your office today. You are a fucking idiot. Or worse. And the more I think about it, the more I'm inclined to or worse. And we'll just leave it right there. Okay. As we get more information coming out, we'll talk about it out of Butler, Pennsylvania. But I'm telling you right now, I really wish I didn't have the kind of curious mind that I do. I really wish I didn't, because there's moments in life that I wish I were blissfully ignorant. Because it's when you find out stuff like this that just really, really makes you hate some of the people that currently are involved in federal governance. Anywho, tell you what, let us shift gears, and I'm get out of a slightly heavy topic, and get to something that I think we can safely talk about. Have a little lighter subject, and we will call this the 4 O'Clock Follies. And I'll do one last quick commercial before we get to it. My name is Brian Tripp, and I'm the Front Porch Conservative. This live stream is known as Chattin On The Porch. I've got channels on Rumble and YouTube, so please, if you're not subscribed to my channel, please give me a sub. Also, hit the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up on my videos. All right. 4 O'Clock Follies. Those subjects that are, in this case, hopefully lighter, we can have a little bit of fun with them. So it appears, and I think it was Gypsy who mentioned this way earlier in the stream, there's apparently a certain amount of tension right now inside the halls of MSNBC. Now, for those of you who may not be aware, yesterday, MSNBC made the decision to pull their flagship show, Morning Joe, off the air for one day. Albeit they let Joy Reid on in the evening, but okay, we'll lay that aside for the moment. Well, I don't know exactly how it was told to Joe and Mika that they weren't doing their show yesterday morning, but apparently Joe Scarborough, one half of Morning Joe, is is not very happy. So, and so much so, in fact, that he took to the airwaves this morning when he got back on the air to tell people that he wasn't happy about it, and his reaction is quite funny. So I thought maybe as kind of a lighter aside, we could take a listen to this. So, folks, do me a favor and check this out.
Before we start this hour, Willie, I just wanted to briefly talk to our friends and viewers that watch us every day, and talk about what happened yesterday. We were told in no uncertain terms on Sunday evening that there was going to be one news feed across all NBC News channels yesterday. The Today Show would be Lester Holt, other people that you worked with on Sunday, and that was going to be one news feed across all NBC News channels, that we were going to stay as a network in breaking news mode throughout all day yesterday. That did not happen. We don't know why that didn't happen. Our team was not given a good answer as to why that didn't happen, but it didn't happen. We were also told it was going to happen throughout the day. And I guess after there was such a strong blowback about yesterday morning, I guess they changed their plans. And so those plans changed as well. So it didn't. We've talked about it off the air. We'll talk about it on the air because we talk about everything on the air. We were very surprised. We were very disappointed. And if we had known that there wasn't going to be the one news feed from NBC News across all NBC News channels, Willie, we obviously would have been in yesterday morning.
Yeah, I was here up early on Sunday morning with NBC's coverage. Savannah and I led the coverage on Sunday in the immediate aftermath, talking to eyewitnesses, talking to officials about what happened. Obviously suited up and ready to go for yesterday morning on a big morning, and we're told that something else was going to be broadcast. So we are here today going through a lot, catching up a little bit, but we want to be here for our audience, and we know you trust us, and we have ultimate respect for you guys. So we are here today. I wish we'd been here yesterday.
We all wish we would have been here yesterday. We still would like to figure out exactly why there wasn't that one news feed.
And I think the reason why is this show began and continues 17 years later on being the place where you can go to have the hard conversations in a civil way. And so it seemed like now more than ever is a time that we would like to be on. And I think our viewers agree with that. So we continue. We are 5 minutes past the top of the hour.
No, and let me just say, next time we're told there's going to be a news feed replacing us, we will be in our chairs.
We'll be sitting here.
Yeah, and the news feed will be us, or they can get somebody else.
We'll still be sitting here.
Now, there was that clip ran almost 3 minutes, and I apologize. I probably should have chopped that up a little bit. Joe over on Rumble says Joe Scarborough manages to make it all about himself. Okay, if I and y'all put me right here if y'all think I'm wrong about this, but what it sounds like to me is NBC News corporate comes to Morning Mika and all the gang and says, "Hey guys, look, we're in crisis reporting mode. We're going to stay that way through all of Monday, regardless of the coverage of the convention. And we're not going to run the show in the morning." And Morning Mika, Joe and Mika and all their gangs, like, okay, fine. That's how you guys want to do it. Cool. We're team players. Fine. Well, apparently about mid-afternoon, NBC changed their minds, supposedly. You know what? I will say this. If that's what Joe and Mika and all their gang were told, okay, And for the record, at this moment, I don't think Scarborough's lying about what they were told. Okay. Unless there's other information that comes out later, you know, if this is what they were told and NBC did them dirty, NBC did them dirty. Okay. As far as I'm concerned. I mean, look, I have little to no use for Joe Scarborough. I most certainly have little to no use for his wife. I think the two of them are a couple of twittering idiots. Okay? I really do. They're not, neither one of them are that smart. They like to think they're that smart, but they're not that smart. But they are the morning show for MSNBC. I mean, look. If you didn't want Joe and Mika on the air, and I'm saying this to NBC News, okay, NBC corporate for what it's worth, not that they're going to listen to me, but honestly, if you didn't want them on the air because you were scared to death that one of their guests was going to pop off a comment that was wholly inappropriate, okay, fine. You go to Joe, you go to Mika and say, guys, look, we defend your right to say whatever you want to on the show, provided it stays inside corporate boundaries. But given what's happened and given some of your guests and given their takes on Donald Trump, this is not one of those moments when we need to start getting that political. We're going to take you off the air because, you know, it's not you guys. We just don't trust your guests. We don't think you guys can put a rein on them. While Joe and Mika probably would have been pissed, from the outside looking in, I would have respected that more. Okay. But again, if this is what Joe and Mika were told, we're taking you off the air because we're doing one continuous news feed. We're in crisis reporting mode. And that's how we're going to run this all across NBC's networks. Fine. But if you told them that, and then you had different reasons for why you didn't want them on the air, and you proved that later in the day by putting your normal rotation schedule back in, that's doing them dirty. Oh, yeah, I really do. I think NBC did them dirty on this deal. And like I said, I have little to no use for Joe and Mika. Okay? And again, this is one side of the story. You know, I'd like to think I've got kind of both sides of it here. But unless there's more information that comes out later that vindicates NBC corporate on this one, as far as I'm concerned, NBC did these guys dirty. They really did. They screwed them on this deal. And I don't blame Joe Scarborough for being pissed. I like that yeah, we're going to be, you know, if they don't want us here, well, they can always replace us. Okay, I grant you this. I grant you. Get paid millions of dollars to speak, you know, what told to them. And then they go on the air and bitch about their bosses, take the money and shut up. Okay, fair point. That is fair. There's also that side of it. Should you go on the air and do what you just did? No, probably not. I agree with you. But on the other hand, are they totally unjustified? I'm not so sure. I'm really not. Anywho, one other thing on the 4 O'Clock Follies, and this one is getting quite the stir. Robert Kennedy III did something. Junior's son. Robert Kennedy III did something. It's one of those moments in life, well-intentioned, but foolish. He took a video on his phone of his dad, Robert Kennedy Jr., independent presidential candidate, on a phone call with Donald Trump. Now, the word leak is being used to describe how this video got out in the ether. Now, I haven't delved into this one real deep to see, exactly the how, but somehow this video that Robert Kennedy III took of his dad having a conversation with Trump, apparently shortly after Trump was shot at, has gotten out in the social media ether, so to speak, and it's making the rounds. I got a story here from the New York Post, and this is going to be our last news item of the day before we go to the convention coverage tonight. Trump and RFK talk vaccines, dish on Biden's call after assassination attempt in a leaked video. Article by Ryan King. We've got the following. Leaked footage revealed Donald Trump's phone call with independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr., showing the former president appearing to voice vaccine skepticism in a bid to woo him and dishing on his call with President Biden after the near assassination. Trump, 78, reportedly contacted Kennedy seeking to nudge him to drop out of the race and endorse him. Kennedy later confirmed Tuesday that the video was real and apologized. Now, that sort of makes me suspicious. The Kennedys are saying this got leaked. Well, if this was on Robert Kennedy III's phone, the only person that could have leaked it was Robert Kennedy, or at least that's my understanding of it. So that sort of begs the question, how did this thing get out there? Sorry if I'm being overly suspicious. Anyway, back to the article. Quote, I agree with you, man. Something's wrong with that whole system, and it's the doctors you find. Remember, I said I want to do small doses, Trump said in the leaked call. When you feed a baby, Bobby, a vaccination that is like 38 different vaccines, it looks like it's meant for a horse, not a 10-pound or a 20-pound baby. It looks like you should be giving that to a horse, and did you ever see the size of it, he added. It's so massive that when you see the baby, all of a sudden starting to change radically. This is Trump's side of it. Throughout his 2024 bid, Kennedy has knocked Trump over his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic and long expressed skepticism about the safety measures taken to approve certain vaccines. Back in 2017, rumors swirled that Trump would set up a commission on autism helmed by Kennedy that would examine vaccine safety and scientific integrity more broadly. Ultimately, nothing ever came to fruition. The doctors have debunked any link between vaccines and autism. Okay. Kennedy said Tuesday he was mortified by the leak. Quote, when President Trump called me, I was taping with an in-house videographer. I should have ordered the videographer to stop recording immediately. I am mortified all this was posted. I apologize to the president. Later in the leak call, which ran nearly 2 minutes, Trump seemingly alluded to his plea to Kennedy to drop out. Well, there you go. So that's out there. We'll see what kind of impact that has. All right, I'll tell you what, folks. It's about 4:20 in the afternoon. I need to take a break for various reasons here. And from there, I will be back tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern for live coverage of the Republican National Convention. I want to thank all y'all for being here for Chatting on the Porch. You guys are absolutely awesome. Thank you again, everybody who's here. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the Rumble rants. All of it is greatly appreciated. So, again, we will be back here at 7 o'clock tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for right now. We will see you at 7. Remember, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please do so. We would greatly appreciate it. And remember the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, it's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, more money. Thanks for being here, guys. We'll see you back here at 7 o'clock tonight.